Hello everyone, I hope you still have some energy for one of the last presentations. I'll be brief, I promise. So I want to talk a little bit about our office and mainly about one particular project that has urban scale, and I think it resonates with the things we have been discussing today. So we are an office based in Madrid, but when we started, the main three partners were in Chile, New York, and London. We have projects in some of, not all, but some of these locations, as well as collaborators, and we believe that that allows us to kind of enrich our office and the way we kind of look at our projects. So in a way, for us, context is never a constraint, but actually an opportunity, and our area of action it doesn't get reduced to Spain or Europe, but it's actually much larger. So, all these opportunities have made us understand our office as a conglomerate of many different activities. So we do exhibitions, we do research, we organize biennales, workshops, and so on. And what's somehow important is that these three main legs of the office, they enrich each other and they are equally important. So we teach in different institutions, and actually the conversations that we have with the students do enrich our office. We do research through exhibitions and several publications, and the topics that are on top of the table, they also become critical for the projects that we have. And finally, the last leg, this is what I'm going to talk about the most today, is design. We do have projects on different latitudes and also different scales. So from a little small renovation of an apartment in downtown Madrid to a large development in Chile or Czech Republic. I'm going to focus now on one project which belongs to the XL scale. And it's a project that somehow also relates to these four images that you have in here. Over the last 20, 30 years, there have been projects that have been trying to kind of reuse, reimagine, reformulate scars in the city, mainly obsolete urban infrastructures, in most of the cases linked to mobility infrastructures. From the project, this river in Seoul, the High Line in New York that you probably all know, or the Madrid-Rio, which is very close from us. So now, the kind of interesting part actually starts. I'm going to talk about this project. It's the story of this river. It's called the River Someş. And it's a quite large project, and its complexity and nature made us to be involved with different institutions and also with different architects and engineers and so on. We're actually the ones who always, have the chance, we're kind of the face of the project, have the chance to present it in many different forums, but actually it was a truly collective effort from local institutions, the city hall, many different commissions, the traffic department, and from engineers, many different engineers that include bridge engineers, hydrological engineers, road, electrical, and so on. So this project, this river, the Someş, started at the Carpathian Mountains, and after kind of crossing many different countries, such as Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and also connecting with different rivers, eventually reaches the Black Sea. Through its course, it bumps to a city, the city of Cluj-Napoca, which it has 350,000 inhabitants, so for you to get a sense of the scale, it's like half of the size of Tirana. It's the capital of Transylvania and also the house of Dracula, for you maybe interested. And through its course, through 15 kilometers, as you can see here, it bumps into many different conditions. So let me see if I can do this. Yeah, so from the airport, from industrial areas, this gray area, which are high density dwellings built in the 60s, 70s during the Ceausescu times, or the city centers that was funded by the Romans. So we got involved in this project back in 2017 through a public open international competition that put on top of the table the following question: okay, how we can actually rethink the relationship between this river and the city of Cluj-Napoca. A relationship that is, is quite conflicted There are not really uses or programs that kind of foster that dialogue. And in a way, what happened is that in the second part of the 20th century, the river was understood as some kind of channel, as kind of duct, which main goal is to transport water and get energy out of it. So for that reason, the river was domesticated. They built these concrete walls that create a very drastic high difference between the river and the city, to the point that many of the local population, they're not really aware of the big asset that they have in front of their eyes. Also, the river goes east-west, is in the valley, and the city has developed mainly in that direction, east-west. So many of the arteries, the main roads, have been also built on both sides of the river, compressing this kind of natural asset more and more. So the question here was, okay, how we can rethink this hard infrastructure and allow it to be part of the city, become a big, large public space. So we did that through in many different ways, through many strategies, but to kind of summarize it in a couple of minutes, through three main ones. One, understanding the river as this urban connector, this kind of line that connects many different green areas and public spaces. Two, recalibrating that dialogue, kind of bridging the gap between the city and the river. And three, triggering a process of renaturalization. So the first one, the urban connector, again, the river wasn't understood so much as a kind of line that divides the city between the north and the south, but actually as a thicker band that had the possibility to kind of ties and connect all these spaces. So this is the project. Here you can get a sense of a scale. You can take a look here at the stadium to see how this looks. And as you can see, the kind of the thickness of the project varies. Sometimes it's quite thin, sometimes it gets wider, depending on the different public spaces that are, or green areas that are incorporated and connected to the river. This is all done through a system of sustainable mobility infrastructure. So there are a lot of pedestrians and bike paths that kind of give continuity to this long thread that go, as you can see in this image, go in the east-west direction. But there are also other pedestrian bridges that have the goal to kind of stitch both sides of the river, both sides of the city. Like this one, the Grigorescu Bridge that connects two quite important areas. On the right, the Roselor Park. On the left, it's called the Plaza Park. And this one has the goal it doesn't have any supports. It has a span of around 60 meters, and it allows for some kind of pedestrian path to go underneath, and it gets thinner in the middle to try to be presented as thin as possible. The other bridges, like this one and others, this one it has a U section, so the balustrades work structurally, also work in compression, and has the goal to connect this park, the Armatura Park, with the new developments that are taking place in the north. This one is actually not crossing the Someş River, but one of the tributaries. Then, going back to the second point, it was important to kind of rebuild that dialogue between the city and the river, kind of try to allow the river to become part of the local imagination. And so for that, the topography was calibrated, the paths were built, these spaces like this beach was built as well, then bleachers appear to kind of turn the edge into a public space, viewpoints in which you can engage in different ways with the river, and also system of diagonal path that try to create a diagonal and direct relationship between the water, the church, and the urban fabric. And last but not least, the project aimed to kind of become a kind of support for the local fauna and flora to reconquer the river edges and kind of foster the biodiversity and obviously kind of trigger this process of renaturalization. So basically, going back to this image, so this kind of sharp edge that I was showing at the beginning of the presentation was out of concrete, very thin. So that was turned into like a softer one and a wider one with this system of terraces that will allow to include this like local vegetation, this flora and fauna. All this obviously done in collaboration with the landscape team that help us in infinite ways, as for instance, like selecting the different type of vegetations that were divided in relationship of its proximity to the river. So this project has had quite some visibility. We presented at the Venice Biennale. We put together this very long model of 20 meters. It was a project that 1 to 500, more or less, crossing the entire Arsenale, and with some videos on top that illustrated the river as it was 100 years ago, as it is, and as is kind of turning out, it's becoming now. It was also part of the Lisbon Triennale, also a couple of years ago. And then, yeah, even though it's great, no, to have the chance to present this project, have these publications and this visibility, and like show it to you, what really makes us proud is this, no? Like somehow receiving these pictures and kind of seeing how the local population are kind of appropriating the river in ways that we have never even imagined. So I think I'm done. Thank you.